In Friday's Days of Our Lives, the story takes a dramatic and unsettling turn as Salem braces itself for shocking revelations surrounding Jeremy Horton's mysterious return. Steve Johnson's doubts about the supposedly reformed bad boy intensify, and he decides it's time to dig deep into Jeremy's past. With the help of Rafe Hernandez, Steve begins an off-the-books investigation that could expose some disturbing truths about Jeremy's life since he left town almost 2 decades ago. The episode begins with Jeremy's presence continuing to cast a shadow over Stephanie Johnson's life. While Jeremy insists that he's turned over a new leaf, claiming to have gone through therapy, made amends for his past crimes, and even started working as a substitute teacher for Thomas DiMera and Rachel Black. His reappearance stirs painful memories for Stephanie. She remembers vividly how their once romantic relationship turned toxic and violent, especially that terrifying night when Jeremy held her underwater in a hot tub. That trauma remains unhealed, and seeing Jeremy standing on her doorstep now, all smiles and apologies, only reawakens those old fears. Stephanie does her best to stay composed, but her anxiety is palpable. Jeremy brings her flowers, apologizes for his behavior, and insists that he's a changed man who's ready to make things right. However, what unsettles her most is how quickly the conversation turns personal. Jeremy reveals that he's read One Stormy Night, a steamy novel that Stephanie secretly wrote under the pseudonym Anastasia Sands. Not only has he read it, he recognizes himself in the story's male lead, realizing that Stephanie based parts of the novel on their own toxic relationship. This revelation leaves Stephanie shaken. She had trusted Alex Kyriakis to edit out the most intimate parts before publication, but somehow, those details remained. Now Jeremy knows everything, and the way he brings it up, smiling as if proud to be immortalized in her book, makes Stephanie deeply uncomfortable. Kayla Brady, Stephanie's mother, knows her daughter wrote the novel and has been quietly supporting her through the tension of Jeremy's return. But Steve Johnson, her father, is still in the dark about both the book and the depth of Stephanie's trauma. Steve only knows that Jeremy was once bad news, a reckless young man who got into drug smuggling and dangerous schemes when he was a pilot years ago. Still, Steve senses something off about Jeremy's too-perfect comeback story. His instincts as a private investigator tell him that Jeremy's transformation may not be as sincere as it looks. Unable to shake his unease, Steve turns to his trusted friend Rafe Hernandez for help. Rafe, with his FBI background and access to federal databases, can dig into Jeremy's records more thoroughly than Steve can alone. Steve asks Rafe to investigate quietly without alerting Jeremy or even Stephanie, to avoid causing more distress. The two agree that if Jeremy truly has reformed, the records will show it, but if he's hiding something, they'll find out. Rafe begins checking Jeremy's employment history, therapy records, and recent travel, determined to see if his claims match reality. At the same time, Brady Black gets pulled into the mix. Brady's life is shifting after learning that Tesoro isn't related to his son Tate, and with the investigation business at Black Patch losing John Black, Brady is starting to take on a more active role. Steve sees potential in Brady as a budding investigator and asks him to keep an eye on Jeremy in his new role as Rachel's substitute teacher. Since Brady's daughter is in Jeremy's class, it gives him a perfect excuse to observe without drawing suspicion. Brady agrees, concerned both as a father and as someone who's seen how dangerous people with hidden agendas can be. Meanwhile, Jeremy's presence is causing ripples throughout Salem. Julie Williams is thrilled to see her relative back and believes in giving him a second chance, while Jennifer Horton also welcomes him but privately feels uneasy about his past. Neither woman knows the full extent of Jeremy's abusive behavior toward Stephanie, nor do they realize how much pain he caused her years ago. Stephanie debates whether to tell them the truth, but she's hesitant to open old wounds or make herself vulnerable. While Rafe and Steve dig into Jeremy's history, they begin uncovering strange inconsistencies. Records show that Jeremy was involved in a plea deal years ago, but some details about what he did after prison remain sealed. There are also gaps in his employment record, and one of his supposed therapy centers no longer exists, suggesting he may have fabricated parts of his redemption story. These findings alarm Steve, who grows even more convinced that Jeremy's intentions for coming back to Salem are not entirely innocent. As the investigation unfolds, hidden motives start to emerge all over Salem. Tony DiMera's legal battle with Xander Cook and Philip Kyriakis over Titan Industries continues to escalate, pulling Brady closer to the corporate drama while still trying to focus on protecting Rachel. It's a chaotic time, and Jeremy's sudden return only adds to the city's growing list of mysteries. Back at Kayla and Steve's home, tension builds as Steve debates whether to tell Stephanie that he's investigating her ex. Kayla cautions him to tread carefully, Stephanie already feels cornered and fragile, and learning that her father is secretly looking into Jeremy could make her feel even more exposed. But Steve insists that his daughter's safety comes first. Jeremy, meanwhile, continues to act charming around Salem, maintaining his image as a changed man. Yet his fixation on Stephanie's novel and his subtle attempts to reconnect with her suggest that his feelings may not have changed as much as he claims. His apologies sound rehearsed, and his interest in her life feels more like control than closure. By the end of the episode, Rafe reports back to Steve with preliminary findings hinting that Jeremy may still be connected to questionable people from his past. Steve's suspicions are confirmed. Jeremy's reformation might be nothing more than an act. With Rafe digging deeper and Brady keeping a close eye